battlefield environment. And when you look at these GoPro footage that have been released by Hamas, what it shows you here is that Hamas, which has been reportedly preparing for this type of scenario, for this type of fighting against the Israeli military for years, they have the advantage of moving through cities and buildings through their underground tunnel network. In some of this footage, you can clearly see Hamas fighters popping out from a tunnel and getting just a few meters away from either an Israeli main battle tank, the Merkava, that's Israel's most advanced main battle tank, or other type of armored vehicles. The Hamas fighters then are using, and what we can clearly see is a tandem warhead rocket-propelled grenade. That is a locally produced type of weapon called the Yasin 105. That has allowed Hamas to knock out a number of some of Israel's most advanced tanks and armored vehicles. The Yasin 105 is really effective in close quarter combat warfare. How does it work? It is called a tandem warhead. What that means is that when the Hamas fighter launches the missile,
I don't know if this is even going. It's so slow. All right. Welcome, everybody. It doesn't seem like many people have signed in. I must have PO'd most people on my calls. Ham is supposed to come on at noon, but he just called me about 25 minutes ago, and he wants to come on sooner, so I don't know. I'll let a few people come on before we call him. Let's do the go around the league for the scores quickly. GTII is GTII is 39 cents, 37.6 to 39. The volume is 48,000. Wolf, he's going to talk to you about Wolf. Wolf is $2.22.5. I should have put Wolf on the attention headline, but I forgot. Finger is 391.5, down 7 cents, 390 by 393. Also very low volume. It's almost this. It's 49,091. GTII's volume is 50,000 now, but when I just looked at it, it was 49,000. It's weird. Just a meaningless pattern. GDC 282.8, 46,000 shares. ZJYL, that's the one. I always forget it. ZJYL. Zajil. ZJL. Anyway, down 45 at 210. I won't steal Ham's thunder, but he has a good story on that coming. Logic 0.0744. Bid is 0.65, and it's trading on the ask, 17,000 shares traded. MMAT 0.0673, 672, 673, 1.6 million. Wolf, I think I gave you 223. CAUD $1.40, 140 by 143, down 8 cents, low volume. HNRC 0.0385. I don't know if that's up, or is it up? That's up 0.0095. So it's 0.037 by 0.0385. I guess that's not really up that much. Well, no, it says 32%, 441,000 shares. Oh, they gave an update. I'm going to print that out. I'm going to read that to you. I'll just read it here. I can't, it doesn't have a print button. Houston, January 3rd. Houston Natural Resources updated shareholders with a summary of its recent business developments, significant achievements, as well as providing some insight for 2024 and beyond. The company has filed for a name change to Cunningham Natural Resources Corp., a symbol and CUSIP change, both of which have been filed with FINRA. And they did this because they recently completed the acquisition of 100% interest in Cunningham Energy. Listen to this, increasing HNRC's net asset value, NAV, per share to $1.70. Not two, that's not what it says. It's increasing HNRC's net asset value by $1.70 a share. Oil would have to go to -50 for this to be a bad trade. Cunningham Natural Resources Corp., based on just that bit of information, all of this is speculative, none of it's financial advice. HNRC/Cunningham Natural Resources Corp. will be focused on traditional oil and gas opportunities and energy transition materials, including mining opportunities in copper, lithium, gold, as well as other precious and rare earth metals. What more could you want? What more could you want in an automobile? The investment focus will be global, with sustainability at the core of the strategy. Cunningham Energy has completed the prior 2 years of audited statements for a listing on NASDAQ or NYSE. I hope it's NYSE in 2024. Excuse me, with an underwriting commitment of $10 million in 2024. To me, that's the only risk. If he signed a deal with somebody like Jeff Easton and the Lynn Partners, that's the risk. I don't think he does. I think he hangs out in a more rarefied air than the likes of Jeff Easton and Kurt Kramer. The company has also filed a restructuring to meet qualifications for a national exchange that is expected to be completed in the first quarter of 2024. You know what I read there? Restructuring, RS, restructuring, reverse split is what I hear there. But hopefully the asset value and the earnings will come out at the same time. But I could be wrong, by the way. Don't jump to conclusions. I am. Don't you? The company has also filed a restructuring to meet qualifications for a national exchange that is expected to be completed in the first quarter of 2024. All other requirements for uplisting will be submitted upon completion of regulatory review. The company looks forward to great success on a greater exchange where shareholder value can be maximized, with potential dividends in place for 2024. The company completed an asset spinoff dividend to shareholders of Worldwide Diversified Holdings. All right, we got to stop there. Hello? Hello? Well, let me just get you here. I had it preset, but I got to set it again. Okay, now I go here. All right, you should be able to talk.
All right, everybody.
Do you want some stock prices?
Opinion, and I'm flying blind, so William, I have.
Do you want stock prices before you start, or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, just tell me what they are. Go through the mumble jumble of all of them.
Okay. I'll start with Wolf. Terra Wolf is 226 down 3, 2 to 226.5, 226 by 227, 19,000 shares.
19 million.
Sorry, 19 million. My eyesight isn't perfect. ZJYL 210 down 45, 28,000 shares. GTII 37.4, 67,000 shares, 37.4 by 39.4. I can give you the size if you want it. GDC is up 4 cents to 282.8. And finally, Finger is slightly down on 102,000 shares, down 7 cents, 391 to 393.
All right, let's go start off with Bitcoin first.
I didn't give you that one.
Last night I looked at Bitcoin was 45,000, and I saw that Wolf was basically doing nothing or down a little bit again. And today they came out, the SEC kicked the can down the road about approving the ETF for crypto. So just think about that, everyone on this call. I've been telling you the market is completely fraudulent. And this has nothing to do with the stocks that I'm following. I'm just going to show you how fraudulent it is. Is that all that volume, all that buy volume into Wolf up to $3, the 130 million shares, whatever it was. These guys were shorting it. Obviously, they knew that the SEC was not going to approve the ETF at this time. They said they're kicking it down the road. The second quarter is when they're going to review it. And these guys sold into it. Think about that's at the highest level that the SEC was leaking information to, whether they're attorneys or the people working on it, leaking this information to hedge funds and the banks, whatever. And they took advantage of all the investors buying it. People like myself who follow the stock, we don't know. We're watching Bitcoin at 36,000. Wolf is 4 at 45,000. It's got to be higher. And yet they slaughtered it, never let it go past 3. And they looted Riot, Mara, and Wolf. And I do believe they're only doing it, kicking it down the road, because the banks or whoever the players are do not have their positions yet in those stocks or in Bitcoin, and the SEC needed to buy them time. That's the only thing I can think of.
So they're going to load up buy their shares for the ETFs.
Yeah, so I guess they'll load up on it, and this will they'll get another. It was getting away from them, is what we used to call it, and it's so obvious what's going on that the game is rigged. Look how we're behind the 8 ball. And, think about it. If you bought 10,000 at 3 and it goes down, it went to 195 today, Wolf, someone told me. Think about it. You're down 33%. What news? Because they delayed this ETF that eventually is going to get approved. But they just keep hammering people. It's just remarkable.
195 low. 195 low.
So I'm just saying, just think about, when people say to us, what are you going to do? Just look at just look at it. It's so out in the open. If you just, it's hard to hold the stock when you can see the manipulation that they control the whole game. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. Unless you got people fighting for you and you understand everything that's going on, just look what they've done to GTII. Every time the companies try to do a dividend, the Picasso, the crypto coin, the SEC and the DTC shut them down. I mean, the game is completely rigged, and it's very difficult. Again, if you didn't have people that knew what we were doing, I would tell you to run away as fast as you can. And it's very hard to play and hold on to stocks when these guys continue to do that, to keep playing that game. All right, I'll switch to that Z, whatever that crazy stock is.
ZJYL.
All right. My friend who owns
No, that's not it. I got you wrong. Yeah, no, that's right. ZJYL is right. Sorry to interrupt. ZJYL.
He thinks that's going to be one of the biggest short squeezes ever. And, I guess they got these guys trapped. And, the shorts know only one thing, try to mark it down because they can't handle, they want people to sell. I'm told there are no sellers in the stock and they monitor it. And they really think that thing's going to the moon. Now, who can afford a $250 stock? I can't afford it. So I'm just watching and observing and see what their blueprint is, and maybe it helps us down the road. GDC, again, I'm told that's going to 50. I don't know why. My friend owns 1 million shares. Super confident, and when it goes, it goes. I don't know anything else to tell you. I'm there. I own it at 380. I think I own it at something like that, 380 or something. My family owns it there. So, family, friends, and, I think we average down a little bit, but we don't have much more money to play the game. So, those, I gave you on those stocks. Now to GTII, I told you the new consultant has been reaching out to me, and I haven't had time to get down. I've been traveling, so I haven't had time to sit down with them. Another friend called me, and they're reaching out again. So again, when I get a chance, I'll try to find out what the hell they want and what they're doing. I don't know. Finger Motion's getting super exciting for me. We know this special dividend is coming. I just don't know when. Again, I just don't know what shape, form, whatever it is. The biggest investors in the company have told me that they blasted the company, out of the water to get it done. And when it comes out, it'll come out. Their earnings are due, I believe, the 12th. We'll get a feeling on that. When it comes out, we'll see where it's going. But if the trend's your friend, they're in the telecom business. Remember, everyone's using their telephones. That's all we use. And from that, they get the data and this and that. And the company, just go look at the last the last earnings report. And it was up 90% or something, 80-something%. Of course, the short said it was down 90%, right, on the false report. But the earnings are coming out. We got the dividend coming out. And I'm told there's other things in the pipe that are going to come out. Something related with, what's the name of that brokerage firm? I forgot.
Univest?
Univest. So I think something's coming out with them. I don't know what it is yet, but so there's 3 things in the near term I think are coming out. The shorts keep trying to manipulate it lower. I told you they picked the wrong stock. The company doesn't need the money. The business is growing. It's expanding. They don't need money. The way the shorts get you is that you need money. If you need money, then you're under their control. It's like Dracula with the old Dracula movies from Abbott and Costello, when they look into your eyes and they mesmerize you. That's what the shorts have no control on this stock now. They're just flailing in the wind, as far as I'm concerned. They're just trying to buy time, and hopefully people panic. But like NVIDIA, NVIDIA's got the new technology, the AI chips. The shorts are trapped. They keep trying to trade their way out of it, and eventually, it's going to explode on them, and that's what's going to happen in NVIDIA. I don't know what day. I don't know, but it's the same type of pattern. They lost control, and it's just a matter of for example, last time I looked, NVIDIA was 480 NVDA. The chip has been world renowned. It's the biggest thing. Blah 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 blah. Even Nancy Pelosi's husband's been loading up on it, and they have inside information, those people, and they still try to hold it down. So eventually this thing will have an explosion to $600, $700, and they'll get roasted alive. But they try to cast that moment of doubt, like they're doing in Wolf. The ETF will get approved. It's just not this month, and maybe it's next month or the next quarter, whatever it is. You could go read the news on the SEC, and that'll give you the timeline for it, when it's going to get, then it'll start moving up again, just like it just did. All right, so Finger Motion, I do believe, has the shorts trapped. When Finger Motion explodes, we'll move into GTII, because we know there's over 450 million shares short there. They have not covered anything. And just based on the bullshit tax selling people are selling, it's traded 60,000 shares today. They got to cover 450 million. What's 60,000 shares? It's nothing. but they just keep trying to mark it down to get people to bail out. That's all they're doing. All right. So I gave you on the GDC, I gave you the ZJYL. What else did I have to talk about? I forgot. I don't know. Give me a question. I'm driving. So anyway, I just made this, so I'm really booking along here.
How do you say good morning in Spanish?
I forgot. I'm not a Spanish. I forgot. But
How do you say Happy New Year in Spanish?
I don't know.
These are things you're going to have to learn. One guy is telling you that the
Kill
ETF
myself, drive into a pole. What do you want me to do?
yeah, play chicken with a telephone pole. The ETF denial was just a rumor. There's been no official decision. Another guy said that
what is Bitcoin trading at?
I don't know the symbol.
Charlie.
What's the symbol?
Boy Tom Charlie. Just hit BTC it.
Okay.
Boy, if that was a rumor, boy, that was a good one. That just shows you the desperation.
So they put it out. BTC, they put it out to get people to sell.
Of course, that's what they do. So if you think they Capybara just does it in
that symbol doesn't work, BTC, or maybe it doesn't work on E-Trade. I don't know what. Let me go to Google.
Just put price of Bitcoin. That's all.
Price. Sorry, I'm so old, man. Price of Bitcoin, 43,000.
So they knocked it down $2,000 on that.
Well, it's 43,266, so it's down 1,700.
Yeah, it was down. Yeah, I saw it last night. It was over 45,000. William, can you give me a price on TIME? That always goes up, that stock.
It's 1139.
It'll be 1140. It keeps going up.
Well, it'll be 1140 in 30 seconds.
Anyway.
Let me give you TIME. TIME.
So anyway, the
$20.49 time.
Well, again, if you just look at the power of the short sellers when they get caught, to come out with a rumor that they were going to block the ETF and that the SEC was going to move it down the road, that shows you the desperation these guys have in these names. They killed Mara. I think I just saw not Riot, maybe, or Mara's back up on the day. So just follow those stocks. They'll lead you the way they got to go. MARARIOT. Remember, for people that are playing Wolf, I met these people. They make their money off the price of Bitcoin. Whatever the price is, it cost them $2,000 to generate a Bitcoin, or whatever it is, and it's 45,000. So they make 43,000 in profit. If it keeps going up, they keep making more money.
So which ETF are you talking about that might not have gotten approval? Because
it's a new Bitcoin. It's a new Bitcoin ETF. That's all. I'm not. Listen,
it's a new one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because somebody
BlackRock ETF, I think it is.
Larry Fink or whoever.
So could it be the big boys trying to slow down the movement in it, trying to accumulate it? That's what I gather out of it.
This other gentleman, well, I don't know for sure, but this other person said they being the sellers, dumped crypto attributable to the tax law. Any Bitcoin transferred over $10,000 will need to be reported to the IRS. The sender and
everybody wants a piece of this. It's unbelievable. Everything. The government's so screwed they're doing anything.
Well, they want a piece of all the trillions they're printing.
Well, they could just call up the Kramers, Alpine, and Yorkville, and all these offshore guys, and move your accounts to the Cayman Islands. You don't have to pay tax if you're there, right? You don't have to be a U.S. company. They just want to make sure that William, if you trade a Bitcoin and you buy one for one Bitcoin and you make $500, you got to pay tax on it. Everybody else is free, William, but you.
God.
I had a couple other things to tell you, but I'm driving and I'm trying to pay attention yet trying to give you an update. I just want to let you know I've gotten gas, a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and I've eaten it and got back on the highway, the whole thing in less than 8 minutes. I did the whole thing already.
How long's your?
And I got another 300 miles to go, so I'll reach my destination this afternoon.
Are you in Florida or you're in Georgia?
Yeah, no, I'm in Florida. Yeah,
That's a big state.
it's long, I can tell you that. But but anyway, I can't think of something I wanted to tell you on the equity markets. That's what I wanted to talk about. MMTLP. A gentleman or a shareholder called me up today about MMTLP and wanted to discuss. And they said that I told everybody a long time ago to go after a smaller firm and try to get the ownership. And they did that with that trade station. Because now they believe that they have, I forget how many holders, but they know they have the actual proof or the statements of individuals that will equal the amount that they're over. They'll get that spread. So if individuals own 200,000 shares, individuals own 500,000 shares, and TradeStation only has 200,000, okay, they can do it ass backwards and figure out how many shares they're short, and they can show that to Congress, and there's your smoking gun. So again, getting it from the big firms is too hard. Investors don't like to show their hands. That's why it doesn't work. Just remember, everyone, longs investors do not unite and work together. Shorts know that, and that's why they attack. And that's why I always put up the picture of the Romans fighting together. When the Romans fought together, they won. When they broke apart, the barbarians slaughtered them. And that's what's going on in the equity markets. Investors, because we're all concerned about our profit, and everyone worries about themselves differently. The shorts know that, and that's how they break you apart. That's why they attack the stocks down, because they know William's going to panic if Finger Motion breaks 4, or Henry's going to panic if Finger Motion breaks 390. This is how they get you. They make you use stop losses, and they can see them. They tick them, and they steal your stock. These are all things the system is completely rigged against us. Unless you know how to navigate every gory detail, which we expose every day more and more. I can't remember them all. It's just unbelievable how crooked this game is. You're better off investing in the stock market in India or a third world country than the U.S. And we all think that the U.S. is the top. It really isn't. It's just all fraud. It's remarkable.
So as you're driving down there, remember when you go in for coffee, it's Buenos Dias. That's good morning. Buenos Dias. And if you need to...
Listen, in my New York City citywide exam back in high school, I was caught cheating on my citywide exam. For anybody who doesn't know, they had these tests in New York City. And I was caught cheating. I forget the woman's name. And then she called me up in front of the class. She told the whole class I was caught cheating. And she said, I'm going to let you keep your score. I got a 17, and I was cheating. That's how
you got 17 and you cheated? 17 out of what? Out of 20?
Out of 100.
Oh, my God.
And the reason I got that, William, there's an excuse. I was in the Felt Forum at a Deep Purple concert the night before, so that was why I was out all night. So.
Smoke on the water?
Yep, I saw them in the Felt Forum in Manhattan.
Smoke on the water.
Did
they have any other songs?
I came out of the Highway Star. I can't remember them all, but I came out of the concert. It was so loud, I think I was deaf. Maybe that's why I failed the test. But anyway, so that was so let's stay away from Spanish. That's not my expertise. But, there's another thing about MMTLP. I believe, William, maybe you can confirm just with Anna. I hear that the number is up to it's 85 to 90 people have signed off on this now. If you can get her to confirm that, and post it up on Twitter so that I can have an actual count when I do get to my my destination. I can actually see what it is. But I'm following that. That is going to be the stake in the SEC's heart.
Well, I'm glad to do that. She may not want to give it out while they're getting signatures because apparently there's a delicate dance. Well, if Crapo signs, we'll sign, or if AOC signs, I'm not signing, or something. So anyway, she might wait till they're done.
I've heard that number's up to 85 tonight.
That's awesome.
That's all I don't know.
I'll go. I've got some of those booklets left that you gave, like 20. I'll go walk Senate one morning and show the letter and see if senators will agree to sign.
Well, why don't you? Well, again, it's a little late. I have a surgery the January 25th, but I will come down to DC in February with 4 of those. And if you want to relay to her, we'll clean it up. We'll take care of everybody that she wants. We'll make sure we have appointments, and we'll go knock on their doors and get those signatures for her.
Okay.
Tell her you're going to bring the big boys in. We'll finish it up for her.
Well, I can go around and do that, and then
what you can do, just tell her, listen, know what you do? Just say, give me your top 20 people. We'll fill the brochure up with information for them, and you print out the most important things to MMTLP. And go solicit it, get 20 signatures, get 20.
I think that letter sent to every state teachers retirement fund, every labor union retirement fund, I
listen,
think,
anyone listening, and if you want to help draft a letter to those unions, the pension funds, let them know. Help us out. We're trying to save the system. And ourselves, by the way, we're not doing this for fun, but we want to make sure that we can help it for your kids and your grandkids. Otherwise, we're all going to get killed. It's just, you can see what they do. Imagine buying 10,000 Wolf. It traded 130 million shares in 3 days, whatever the number was, and they drive it down $1. Now, I told you before, they can't make that type of money trading Tesla. Imagine being short, let's say 50 million. You drove it down in 2 days, down $1. You cover it down $1. You make $50 million in 3 days. Why would you do anything else? That's not investing. It's all fraudulent.
Well, and then the key, which every congressional office I went in, my angle was taxes. They don't pay any taxes on this.
But they're taxing you on one Bitcoin now, William. They're going to make you get any transaction, they'll tax that. But not on the manipulation on the short side.
They'll tax you if you send $601 on Venmo, but
Right.
They won't tax what's his effing name, Jeff Easton, if he strips the market cap of CRTD by $100 million.
Right. It's remarkable. It's all offshore. The building in the Caymans. How many LLCs were housed in a shack or a stupid building?
Well, I was in love with somebody then and arguing, and so I didn't stay long. But I went up, and it was nice. It was very British, But
what is it? Everybody have a cubby hole?
No, it's like any fancy New York apartment building. Everybody's name is in a gold plate and has a button. I mean, it's just an endless list of companies and a big open area. And I don't think there's many companies that actually reside there. It's just
it's just a
fiction.
shell place.
It's just a fiction.
Yes. Right. So that's where John Hurry, William, if you can post, and I was thinking about this last night while I was driving, and the proof, to the SEC, that proof from the DTCC or the NSCC about the large short position, concentrated short position at Alpine and GTII. I mean, we sort of drifted a little bit, but just to rehash back on that, there's your smoking gun on GTII. We don't need a congressman or anybody else to sign off on it. You have the powers to be, the almighty DTC, NSCC, telling you there's criminal activity in Alpine on GTII, a concentrated short position by a prime broker that doesn't belong in securities. They don't trade securities. They're not a hedge fund. Who are they holding it for? Who are they holding that concentrated short position for? We looked at John Hurry's LLCs. I'm sure Richard can post that again. I posted it 1,000 times. I don't know. What do you have? 100, 200 of them? I forgot. All the Alpine LLCs. How many more does he have that we don't know about? It's just remarkable that they let these guys keep walking the earth without getting arrested.
Well, it's
And
called Bakshish in the Middle East. It's you know,
I mean,
a wallet
looked
full,
at
an envelope full of cash.
I looked at the other day where, everyone's talking about, criminal activity. And here's that guy from Savvy Management, Hal Mintz. This guy got caught in a naked short selling scheme. That came right out after Forbes said naked short selling didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
These guys these reporters are just insane that they don't report on it because they're stealing from their own families. I don't even understand it. They're so stupid. Whatever they're getting or whoever they're speaking for, they're robbing your own families. It's just remarkable that no one says anything about it. It's if you look at it, it's like the migrants get dropped off in New York City. What happens to them? No one cares. No one. People don't say anything about it, but at the end of the day, out by in Brooklyn, they're knocking on people's doors looking for food and handouts. I mean, they infiltrated your neighborhoods.
You're being unfair.
I'm not being unfair.
Biden's not a racist, and New York is welcoming all of these neighbors from the South with open arms.
All I'm saying is that there are problems. Everyone, the reporters that are supposed to help expose these problems, whatever they may be, all looking the other way.
Give us your tired, your lonely, yearning to be free.
Well, listen, a lot of these people are good people, but there's a lot of bad people they let in, and now they're roaming your neighborhoods. Reporters need to report on this stuff. I don't know what's happening in Queens. I know what's happening in Bay Ridge. I don't know what's happening in a different part of Brooklyn or Long Island. I don't know where everybody's neighborhoods, but reporters need to report on this stuff. And the New York Post did report on it. So
I can't confirm this, but it's amazing. Third day in a row, GTI is in the 38 cents range and Fingers in the 380s. Let me look it up. 383.86 for Finger, and GTII is now it's 374 bid.
I don't understand that. If you look at it, Finger Motion is being sold down for how long now? A couple of months, 3 months, straight down every day.
Oh, it's all normal.
Yeah. My older brother always says even a shitty stock has an update. We don't have any updates.
Not when you sign a deal with Jeff Easton. And I know CEOs probably don't listen, but if you're a CEO or know a CEO, if you sign a deal with Jeff Easton or Philip Vallier, Hailey Kim, Sam Chung, John Howard, you're just buying yourself a job. Doing a deal with Lind Partners New York City is slavery. It's slavery. Going from entrepreneur to slave. That's all you're doing.
Just look at the pattern in the stock. Since they've been involved, this stock is trading like the building's on fire. Their revenue's exploding, and yet they keep holding it down every day. We had to live with the old story. People say, "Oh, there's tax selling." There's nobody selling it. The company's exploding. The company's the opposite way.
Yeah.
And the stock can't get an update. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin, has nothing to do with the U.S. equity markets, nothing. Yeah. It's about cell phone technology in China, the biggest market in the world. They sell data, they sell cell phones, they insure cell phones, and they do top up in it so that cell phones can work.
Right.
Because if you don't pay your cell phone bill, you have no money. And I spoke about it the other day to everyone. I was looking at football tickets. You can't buy a ticket to a sporting event and go to the event because you need your cell phone to be working, because that's the only way the tickets are being distributed now.
I
So
wonder
again,
what an
even if you-
EMP bomb would do to sporting events.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that if you don't have your cell phone, it's the single-handedly the most important thing that we all walk around with, and they're making it more important and more important. So you're attached at your hip, and you can never have. You always need your cell phone with you,
Right.
and that's what goes on in China. China's already there. All right, so here it is, your cell phone. You need it. You got to pay for it. If you don't pay for it, you can't use it. If you don't have a cell phone, you can't buy anything. You can't do anything.
Right.
And that's what they're doing in the U.S. But Figure controls that whole market, the biggest market in the world. Any other company that said they have the market in China, the stocks would be exploding, except anything tied to Lynn Partners, and it's complete opposite.
Yeah.
The stock gets whittled down every day. They wanted it below 4, keep selling 200, 200, 200. There's always a seller at 200, 200, 200. It's the end. It's like a machine gun, 200, 300, 200, 200 every day.
Yeah.
And like I said, Richard, not legal advice. It's the same pattern.
I'm not sure he's here because he hasn't.
Listen.
But if he is, I'll let you know what he says.
Right. Well, I'm sure he's going to say the same thing. But you saw the thing about MMTLP. They have a smoking gun with a small firm that has limited client whole ownership, which they can actually, if they can get the individuals that send their statements that show their hand. Remember, longs do not like to show their hand. Oh, I don't want anybody to see my account. So they're all afraid to do that. But these people, I guess, have all been crushed, and they want to band together now. I said to do that a long time ago, but they're doing it now. So if there's 50 people that own the stock there, find the 50 people, get their statements, find how many shares they own, and then the company could figure out the DTC sheets, how many shares are held at the depository trust in the name of that brokerage firm, and get the difference. If it's 400,000 shares or 300,000 shares, what kind of shares do these people own? They own counterfeits. There you go. It doesn't have to be a lot. It's right there. Does everyone understand that, William?
Yeah, I'm at my printer trying to get my printer to work.
That's it, William. Get your printer and make counterfeit $20 bills and put Gary Gensler's face on it, then go buy some stock.
Well, somebody's asking you, why don't we just start our own, call it Ken Brinton and start printing shares ourselves?
Listen, if anybody knows how to do it, please let me know. I want to go live the lifestyles of the rich and famous while I'm still on this planet, just selling things that I don't even own. Who cares? Just think of what we're saying. We all want to go out there and sell counterfeits and get rich with them. Why not? Why shouldn't we be able to do it? Because
Exactly.
we all know it's the wrong thing to do, and selling someone and stealing their money would bother me. I don't know about you, but I couldn't sell it to my neighbor. Hey, here's some stock. I made it in my basement. Good luck. It's called fraud.
It's called fraud. And so much for the level playing field that Garbargo Wall talks about. I thought he was an honest man, but I guess nobody's honest.
The whole system is corrupt. Again, before anybody makes major bets in the equity markets, if you don't have people fighting the fight on a stock, you have to be out of your mind. Because I'm just, listen, I don't know anybody in Wolf that's fighting the fight. I went to an event, I saw them there, I understood it. That's all I did. And just think about that. You lost 33% of your money in one day over a rumor. That's true or not, I don't know. But Wolf went from 3 to 2 overnight. Imagine you bought it at 3 and it's down to 2. You're down 33%. So for the woman that was saying that GTI is down 70%, she's down in it. I got it. Look how fast they took this position down 33% overnight. So getting to 70, it happens all the time. And it's over fraud. The companies did nothing wrong.
Your dear friend is here. He says 2024 pattern is all the same. No, it's no different yet. So
if anybody can reach out to Mark Bazile on Twitter and ask him about the update on the capybara,
somebody told me, did you tell me? Somebody told me he's suing Trade Station maybe for $2,500 a share on behalf of MMTLP.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a rumor.
I'm just asking about capybara. I know we filed a dismissal, or maybe Richard can give you the right language for that.
Fidelity
he filed it.
Fidelity is not allowing Bob L to buy GTII. Sorry, Wells Fargo is not allowing Bob L to buy GTII, and Fidelity is.
Can you send an email or a text message to your Fidelity broker and see if you can buy NVIDIA, NVDA?
Barbara L is not able to buy GTII at Fidelity, so it's.
Oh, it's far. So I'm just.
There's two of them. There's two of them.
Just ask your broker and pick a big board stock like NVIDIA that's down today, or one that's down. And they say, oh, you can buy that one. And say, well, what the stock is down. What's the difference between the two? And ask them, just try to bait them into it. And then try to get an answer out of them. Why can't I buy this stock versus that stock? Are you guaranteeing me that I won't lose money with NVIDIA? Is that how it works? I'm not sure. Can let me know. Because I know my friends just paid $500 for it and it's down $20-something. They're not too happy about it. Listen, they changed the rules. The only reason they won't let you buy it because they don't want you to make it worse. Whatever they're short, they don't have. If you keep buying it, it only gets worse. That's why they're not settling the trades. So everybody's buying counterfeit shares. They know it, and they know the short sellers are going to walk away from it, and they're going to get stuck holding the bag. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
All right. So, I mean, I'm just trying to update you on what I follow. I mean, I could follow 1,000 other names. I'm not really trading, so I really don't care. But again, the wolf thing, if you want to look at it, just follow Bitcoin and the fake ETF story. That's the only thing I know about that. The Chinese, the big crazy name, again, my friend owns it, and I don't have $250 to spend on a stock like that. Although it's interesting, I do follow it to see what's going to happen here. And you can see them, they try to mark it down. When you see a stock marking it down that fast, I'm sure the people that are playing this game will scoop up the shares and move it back up again, like they did yesterday. At the end of the day, the stock wound up closing up $5 higher, right?
Right.
That shows the sign of accumulation when you see the stock being pushed down by the shorts. At the end of the day, it goes up on the day. That's driving the shorts to the edge of the cliff. That's
right.
Torturing them. They're trying to break the stock, and the longs keep torturing them, closing it up on the day. So the shorts are selling it at the low point, GTII, finger motion, and then when it goes green on them again, they're all upside down again. But they think they can come back the next day and start the same pattern over again. The game starts the next day over again.
Well, I don't know who will be the breakthrough, but they being the rest of Wall Street needs to have someone show them that who they trust. That in MMTLP, there's over 500 million shares sold and bought that don't exist. And it's coming.
Well, the one thing about the MMTLP is, we all know that the market makers created fraud, created this security, trying to cover up their short torchlight. Right. So number one, it's confusing already, right? But the craziest thing is that they closed the stock at $2.80 or $2.90 on the last day of trading, correct?
Right.
People have access to $2.80. They don't even get. They don't even know what they have. They have nothing. They don't know whether they lost all their money to report it to taxes. What do you do for taxes? I don't even know what you do. Do you write it off? You got nothing. What do you do? And there's no answers about the whole thing. You know, think about it. I have a friend that owns a pretty sizable amount, maybe 300,000-400,000.
Oh,
You know, I mean, of MMTLP. You know, I mean, he's, you know, don't get me wrong, he was lucky enough to sell it at 11. I made him sell it at 11. And he bought it all back around the close. So let's say $3. So it's $1 million, right? Let's say $1 million. He doesn't know if he lost $1 million. He has a position, he has nothing. He doesn't know. There's no access to anything.
so he sold me the shares I bought at $8.
He sold it at 11. I called him up. I says, what do you create? He owned 1 million shares at the time. I said, sell it. And he did, and he bought it back. So he did the right thing. He sold it, locked in some profit, and he bought it back. Nothing wrong with that. He's still a believer, and now he's locked in with everybody else. Any other questions, William?
Well, not legal advice is considering suing TradeStation as an individual. And he doesn't have an account there, but I guess he'll figure out the angle. That's pretty cool.
The angle is that they're, I would sue them as they should be losing their license, their broker-dealer license for defrauding investors. Can you sue them on that case? I don't know. Who knows? Nobody's broker is your friend. They could care less. And the people there, those people are not making money. They're just doing it the way the person who taught them how to do it, to work in the back office, they do nothing. And they support the hedge funds because the hedge funds do all the commission business and pay all the bills. That's what they do.
Looking for questions. I think that the questions are all run out. Oh, here, Johnny Tobacco. Get Ham and Johnny Tobacco together on a call.
Listen, Johnny Tobacco is Johnny Tobacco. Johnny worked as a back office guy. Only question for anybody that speaks to Johnny Tobacco, I have the same.
Give up the names.
Who did you work with, and who on the street is the worst? There was a guy's name Palmieri years ago. I think it's the Palmieri family. They're back office people, and that guy went to jail. He worked at Smith Barney.
Palmieri was right-hand man with Weil. I met him. He went to my school. I was in apparently. Anyway, that's Joe Palmieri. Joe.
I don't know the name. I know the last name Palmieri, and
he's a big donor. He's a big donor.
This is how it works, William. This is how it works.
Yeah.
The head guy, Palmieri, the older guy, was at Smith Barney. His cousin's at Morgan Stanley. His brother-in-law is at Goldman. And when someone gets to has to buy in stock, he would call him up and say, "Hey, we got to buy you in, Tony." "No, what are you, crazy? If you buy me in, I got to buy you in. Just do nothing." Okay, that's what they all did. And the stock loan, the stock, the back office people, the head guys are robbing. Everyone's robbing, and that's how it works. There you go. It's pretty easy. So ask Johnny Tobacco, who are the people? You're such an expert on the back office. Who are the bad people? Give us the firms. Who are the worst people? Give us their names. Let's expose the people in the back office that you know that are bad. What are their names? I didn't work in the back office.
Sorry, Joe Plumeri. Joe Plumeri.
If I knew who they were, I'd let you know. I don't know the names. Now you say, let's just switch channels. How about the guy that worked at Morgan Stanley in the GameStop video, the GameStop story that was on HBO, wherever it was? He said every day at Morgan Stanley, he naked shorted. He works for Share Intel now. I forget the guy's name. How come no one says to him, what client did you naked short every day for you? You shorted every day, you said, for somebody. Who? Who are they? Just ask him the name. I did short sales for customers. I had to go borrow stock. When it was in my hands, I had to go borrow the stock. My firm didn't allow us to sell it without a borrow. So again, I would give you, if it was my client and I'm not doing business anymore, do I give a shit? Give him up. He's on the good side now. Why doesn't he give him up? Get his name. It's pretty easy. And these are angles that people need to take. The guy at Morgan Stanley works for Share and Tell. Who were your clients that you naked shorted every day? He's the one that said it, not me. He said he did it every day for commission.
He doesn't want to ruin.
Johnny Tobacco worked in the back offices. Pat Byrne always talked about him. He was from Staten Island. Him and his friends. Who were the people? Who are the people that are bad people in the stock loan and back offices that are not forcing settlement? Give us 5 names. He's going to sit there and say, well, or he's going to give you the names. That's one or the other. Get the names. We'll put them all over the place, and then we can expose them. But if they don't want to say it, what am I going to say? You can't be a leader if you're not willing to give up all the criminals that you know about.
Can't be a leader if you don't get in front of the crowd.
Hey, well, listen, he's not standing there. He's trying to help out. He's a good guy. I listen to him. I listen to what he says, but he needs to take it to the next level. Who are the bad guys? I think in private conversations, he told Pat Byrne who they were. But he never said it out loud and say, hey, I'm Johnny Tobacco and Tony Blow at XYZ is the criminal.
Because
he's the big.
Nobody wants to burn their commission source, even if you're off Wall Street.
He's not in the business anymore.
Yeah, but in the back of his head, he might go back. I don't want to burn him. It's normal.
Before we know it, it's his cousins and family that's doing it. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to ask Tobacco, ask him, hey, well, who are the people you worked in the back office with? And what's the names? Well, they were at Morgan Stanley. What's the guy's name at Morgan Stanley? He's the worst. Get his name. Tell him to give you the name. This way you have a source of where you got the name from. I don't know the names. And the guy who works at Share and Tell, he told you he had clients do it every day for commission. He must know who the client is. He was getting paid by somebody. Who was the guy? Go check that guy's trades out from the past when he was doing it and have him locked up. Right? That's pretty easy. You have the witness telling you he was doing it as the broker. Forget Morgan Stanley. The broker was taking the orders. He took the orders, right?
So this guy wants to know if law enforcement is going to arrest somebody at Finger before options expire this month.
I don't understand the question.
If Ham had to guess, will law enforcement give him an update before option expiration this month?
They don't. Listen, call up law enforcement yourself, give them a scoop, and see what they say to you. Then you get your answer to your own question. They don't tell you. There's nothing I could say. Before I know, they're standing outside the guy's office right now, ready to knock the door down. They don't tell me. You give them the information, they come back with questions, you give them the information. That's how it works. I'm pointing the fingers. Johnny Tobacco, point the fingers. The guy from Share and Tell, point your finger. I'm just pointing the finger on the main culprits that we see. And, I'm doing whatever I can. If there's 100 more toxic lenders, go look at Mark Bazile. He sees them every day, all these guys. He knows them all.
Yeah.
So that's it. Anything else, William?
Well, let me look at the prices since you ask.
I don't care about the prices anymore.
GTII is 37.55.
37.55.
Finger
I'm
is
gonna go buy the stock
384.
at 37.55. How do I get you that? How do I get you that 55? Tell your broker. What is that number? I want to put a check exactly for what that is. What is 37.55? What is that number?
What's a check?
It's a check, right? Where's Finger at?
Finger is GDC is 283. Finger is 384, down 15 cents, 383 to 385.
That's it. Again, if I had money, you know what I'd be buying. I don't have the money. What else can I say? I'm not a mutual fund. All right. I have limited dollars to play with. I believe Finger Motion is going to go first because they picked the wrong company, because the company is fully funded and is showing you point blank that they're going after the criminals. And I'm going to try to reach out to Mark Brazil to see if we get an update on that Capybara stuff, what happened with these characters. I know we filed something with the courts. We all saw it. Richard was nice enough to post it. But what happens with that? Did the judge rule on it? When does he go to Interpol, the police, to go after these criminals?
KYP thinks you're avoiding her. You're down in Florida avoiding her in Brooklyn.
I'm coming down here to fine tune my knee and my pickleball skills. I am afraid of her. I'm going to make sure. If I go there and she beats my ass, I'll never be able to come out again. So I got to make sure I'm ready for her.
Wow.
She's younger. She's got plenty of time to go running around.
She's got everything going.
I'm going to get one shot at the glory here, and I got to make sure I got to make sure I win.
Djokovic lost today against someone he always beats because he's got a injury in his wrist, so he may not win the Australian Open.
Oh, listen, is that where it is? Australia? I don't know where they're playing.
Well, he just lost in the United Cup. I think they're in one of the northern cities of Australia.
Well, listen, he's had enough victories to choke a horse. Don't worry about him. Worry about us. We need some victories. Right now, we keep getting eliminated in the play-in rounds. We're not even making it to the tournament. It's every time we play tennis, we're hitting a ball that has no air in it. I guess I don't know what's happening, but we'll get them. And listen, I'm going to hop off the call because I'm driving. And but again, nothing's changed. Everything's getting stronger, and I can't stop the 10-cent manipulations all the time, every day. It's just, I told you before, these guys just hit a sell button. Companies need lawyers, need to file things, need board of directors approvals. There's 100 things that happen here. And for those who are lucky enough to catch the bottom, good luck. Congratulations. I thought I caught the bottom in GDC. I'm only down $1.
I'm jealous of the guy that got out of MNTLP at 11 and bought it back.
That was thanks to me. I knew
jealous.
he bought it. I called him up. He paid $1.50 for it. He sold it at 10. It's 11. Excuse me.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
So he made 10 million, and then he bought back probably at 4. So he's got a total of 6 million off the table. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Did he give you any of it?
Then I buried him alive in GTI and Finger. Don't worry about it. We weren't going to let him take his $6 million and have a party. He's with us here. I think he has I think he owns 1 million GTII and 600,000 Finger, something like that.
I hope he buys GDC. He can make it all back.
He bought GDC at $395.
So I actually paid less than he did. I bought mine at $308.
Yeah, but he's got a lot more money than all of us.
Yeah. my ownership, whenever he buys or sells, he'll blow right by mine.
Hey, that's what happens in this world. Some people have money, some people don't. Our job is to try to get to that level where we get the money. I'm not looking to take it away from him. I'm looking to.
I heard somebody say, and I forget who it was now, but if you put 20 or 50 people in a room and gave them each $1, by the end of the day, 2 people would have all the money.
Yeah.
I forget who said that.
And the Kramers and Lynn Partners, they'll steal everything from everybody.
Yeah.
That just shows you the mentality here. So
yeah.
Again, I can't stop it. I wish I could. The government is protecting them, and I think that there's a lot of things happening on our front to expose it. And when it does happen, it will be life-changing. Finger motion is very different than everything else here because it's fully funded. It's in the biggest market, and the stock, the fundamentals are exploding. Go look yourself. I say it every day. Go look at it. And I think that when that explodes, we could take profits and we could buy the cheaper ones like GTII.
Do you know the VWAP or whatever the hell you want to call it for GTII and for Finger now? The squeeze trigger?
No, listen, that guy's got a business. He's charging $40,000 a year, to get that information. I don't have the money to throw out that stuff. I usually get him a client, then if I find him a client, then he'll give me the information. And my welcome mat wore off 4 months ago.
You lost your temper?
No, just that the guy has a business, and he said, "Hey, man, you want some information? Then work for me." And I'm not here to work for him. We know that Finger Motion has 200. Before we parted ways, we know that Finger Motion has 200 million plus shares. The VWAP at the time was 526. We all saw that. I posted it every day. So give or take a nickel here. Since they're selling it below, it'll start drifting down again. It's probably 520, 519, maybe even lower. Depends how long we're below 5. And GTII, I haven't had that number in 2 years. I haven't had that number.
But you think the number of shares sold, which don't exist, is pretty high in GTII?
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about the average price of all the sales. There's something, I forget what it was.
Yeah.
It's obviously going lower because they keep trying to mark it down. These guys are averaging down. They're not even averaging up. They're going the wrong way. They keep trying to push it down. All they're doing is they're not selling a lot. They're marking it down on 50,000.
FINRA expels Alpine. Alpine does a series of screwed up lawsuits with their crooked lawyers, and then they just keep selling. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't know how they allow those guys to even be in business. They should just send the police and drag that guy out, him and his wife, by their hair. It's remarkable that even went to cases. Look at the benefit of the doubt. If Hindenburg calls up, they can get a stock shut down because they say there's fraud and get paid for it. We put the truck out front of the SEC 13 times, called out the criminals, pointed the problem to Gray Wall, to Hester Pierce, and to Gary Gensler and the SEC and the FBI and everybody. And we've been doing it for years, and no one says anything. It was at the enforcement conference. They walked right past it. I mean, it's just, and Mark Mazier will tell you that. He watched Gary Gensler walk right past the truck. He actually yelled at him. Look at Anna. He was going
to call him. He was going to call him egghead. Then he looked over at you and he realized he couldn't say that. Hey, Baldy.
Hey, who are you calling an
egg? Hey, Baldy.
My family colors my head on Easter, like an Easter egg.
At least they don't carve it on Halloween.
On Halloween, yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Put
But
a,
again,
put a
you could
candle
just see-
inside of that.
You could just see I don't understand how the system is so rigged. It's just remarkable.
Well,
Rigged.
they've been, I mean, it's years of self-regulation. It's years of lawyering up, and it's finding loopholes and then having lawyers tell you, hey, it's okay, you're not doing anything wrong. And then it's the revolving door. It's no one cares.
Well, listen, we know that Gibson Dunn, the Kramer's lawyers, were sending cease and desist orders so they didn't talk about the Kramers. Right? They tried that already. Some of the shareholders got nervous that they were going to be sued by Gibson Dunn, so they stopped speaking. They were afraid on Twitter that if you said the name, the Kramers, Kurt Kramer or whatever their names are, that you would get sued.
Well, what's amazing is Kurt Kramer isn't special. He's just a low-life thief. And of course, everything I say is my opinion and in my judgment. But there's hundreds of these. There's dozens of these guys. They have no special talent. They're just con men.
Well, like I said, once they arrest one, they'll all tell you can go through the whole network because everyone will give up everybody.
It better be the first person because there's nothing really to give up. I mean, it's not that complicated.
And well, you got to remember the other guys that are tag-alongs that are part of these transactions, like with Savvy and Helmets and his gang, there were many people that worked together on these deals. Some of these deals they brought in, they laid off some of the action. So if it was a $10 million deal, maybe Lynn did 3, Hal Mintz did 3, and they brought 2 guys in for $1.5 million. And now there's 4 of them in the same stock.
Yeah.
That's what tells me that these guys are working together, because there's no way that you would bring anybody else to short a stock. And if you're part of the financing, that means everybody's going to be racing for the door, trying to sell as much as they can, as fast as they can, because they don't trust each other.
Well, it is, as long as they have a modicum of trust, the weight of all their efforts is to drive everything down. And I think one of the misconceptions is after a company settles with Kurt Kramer or settles with one of these criminals, the clients, they keep selling. I mean, once you've bought into one of these financings, you can't get out of it by settling on the warrants that are issued. Or
just look what happened with Finger Motion. Finger Motion went to pay them back. They wouldn't take the money.
Exactly.
Who would take the money with all the interest and penalties that were in their contract? Lynn Partners. Who would cry that the company tried to orchestrate a short squeeze? Lynn Partners, what would they cry about? They're supposedly long the stock. They're crying that the company's orchestrating a short squeeze, which nobody knows how to do, by the way, as you can see. If there's anyone trying to orchestrate a short squeeze, it would be me. Because I'm trying to expose the criminals, not orchestrate a short squeeze. I'm trying to stop the frauds from committing fraud and fight for the investors. And by fighting for them, if they have to turn around and buy all the counterfeits back, they short squeeze themselves.
Right. Right.
If you call that orchestrating a short squeeze, then that's what it is. I'm calling it settling the trades. That's what it is. But Lynn Partners, their attorneys were so concerned that they called up the attorneys for Finger Motion and were crying that the company is trying to orchestrate a short squeeze on them. Huh. I wonder why. If they're long, what's the big deal?
Do you ever get sick of it?
No, I'm not sick of it. I'm just sick of it that, I have to listen to a poor woman that's down 70%. I got it. We all got wiped out. I got it. And it's not fair.
Do you think it'll ever turn? And when it turns, do you think we'll have more than one opportunity to make money?
When it turns, we will be like Attila the Hun. We will decapitate them one at a time. Because as they say in Brooklyn, and KYP knows about this, payback's a bitch. And that's what we're coming for. We're not gonna have no
AYP
mercy.
doesn't use words like that.
She's from Brooklyn. She knows those words.
She's a lovely lady that's going to kick your butt.
She could kick my butt, but she knows the streets like I know the streets. I could tell you that. She could be an angel when you go to a restaurant, but when you try to pull the wool over her eyes, she's gonna be ready for you. So that I understand. She's trying to call me out, meaning that she has no game. If she's calling me out, that means she has no game. I know that line.
She's bringing new paddle balls. Every set, you have to open a new can. Brand new balls, high speed.
KYP, we're going to have Richard, if not legal advice, and William as the ball boys.
Oh, man.
The time they get the ball back to us, we'll both fall asleep.
Exactly. I don't think I can run around on that. I can't kneel. I can't kneel on the court.
Right. But anyway, listen, everyone, I'm still driving, and have a great day. And if I hear anything, you'll see me on Twitter this afternoon when I get to my place. All right?
All right. Well, thank you, Ham.
You got it. Thank you for keeping
Bye.
the call. Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
cheers, cheers, cheers.
Call ended.
Whew, that was something. All right, I'm going to, I don't know where we left off, so we'll just start over again. Yeah, the only problem is both my knees. I can't kneel on either knee anymore. Anyway, as my stepmother said, as you get older, Billy, you age out of things. I guess one of the things I aged out of is kneeling. All right, I'm going to go get that printout. That might have been what I was going over. I want to go get that again. I'll be right back. I got to see if my printer works. See if my printer works. It did, yay. Worked. It worked. It worked. All right, you guys. It did work. So I'll go back to take that off. All right. I just wanted to go back to HNRC, and this did print out. I wonder if I don't. I'll just have to tell you, but let's go through these. This was just put out this morning, January 3rd. It looks like I have to get new ink. They're going to change the name. They completed the acquisition of 100% of Cunningham Energy. But here's the thing, it increases the value. It increases the value of HNRC by $1.70 per share. $1.70. Let me see if I can quickly find the earnings release. I'll print it out again too. If I can do it quickly. So annoying. I need a secretary. Okay. And what's the symbol again? HNRC. And let me just print out that news and show you why I just wonder. I wonder. All right, I'm going to print this if I can quickly and show you. I just want to show you proof positivo. Proof positivo. I just want to show you proof positivo. And that I'm going to have to go get once it prints. All right, and then this is the risk I see. This is the risk I see. I don't have a red pen. I do not have a red pen. All right, so I'll just use a blue pen. This is the risk. They say here they're going to change the name to Cunningham. Cunningham Energy has completed the prior 2 years of audited statements for a listing on NASDAQ or NYSE, which is fantastic, with an underwriting commitment of $10 million. Now, if they made that commitment with someone of the ilk of Jeff Easton or Philip Valier, trouble city. I don't think he did. I don't see any evidence that, other than the stock price has traded that way, I don't see any evidence that he gets fooled by lowlifes like Jeff Easton and Philip Valier. But anyway, that's the risk. They filed a restructuring. I wonder if that's code for reverse stock split. The company looks forward to great success on a greater exchange where shareholder value can be maximized with potential dividends in place. For 2024. And he already said, I've told you, I wrote it down. Where did I put here's my notes. I jotted it down. On November 1, Frank Kristen had an interview about HNRC, and he said, what happened? I don't know what happened. He said, HNRC completed a sale of some of our current energy assets, and we realized 15 cents a share. And we will look at a dividend potentially of that interest later this year and an announcement on that. I wrote it down, but you can go to his November 1, 2023 Energy Emerging Growth Conference video, and you can see it. All right, I just want to show you one more thing. Okay, I wanna show y'all something. All you, I want to show you something so that all y'all, it's Henderson, y'all. Is that what it is, Henderson, y'all? Or it's someplace right up in northern Kentucky, just outside of Cincinnati. It's Henderson, y'all. Something like that. All right. This is this. I want to show you together with this. Both the same stock symbol, so that you don't think I'm pulling the wool over your eyes. Okay, let me show you two things. Let me get this out of the way. I want to show you two things, and then we can talk about other stocks. But this is Houston Natural Resources, the update today. It says increasing HNRC's net asset value by $1.70 per share. $1.70 per share. Well, the earnings announcement here by HNRC on September 30th, 2023, come way down here in the bottom of it. Notably, the company achieved a net asset value of 62 cents per share in quarter 3, 2003. So 62 plus 170, don't want to make any mistakes, is $2.32 a share in net asset value published by the CEO. You don't think the SEC FINRA would go after CEOs and put him in jail if he's lying? They would. They're not going to go after Kurt Kramer or Jeff Easton, but they'll go after CEOs. So you got $2.32 a share. I'm not saying that'll be realized anytime soon, but it could be. Let me see where the stock is trading right as we speak. And then we'll talk about something else. So HNRC right now is trading for 3 cents, 3.62. So let's divide that out just for some shits and giggles, as they say. 0.0362. If HNRC were to trade to its just equal to its net asset value, and or if the company were to distribute cash or dividends, it's 64x. It's trading at 1/64 of its net asset value. Now, maybe something screwball. Maybe they did a financing with somebody like Jeff Easton or Philip Valier or Hai Lee Kim or Sam Chung or John Howard at Veland Partners, New York City. All right, let's talk about Florence. That's it. It's Florence, y'all. That's it, Eric. It's Florence, y'all. Every time I drive by that, I say that out loud. It's Florence, y'all. That's pretty good. You guys are smart. You guys are smart. It's Florence, y'all. I don't think there's anything more beautiful, or one of the most beautiful things, late at night when a ball game's on, the lights are going, you cross over. Is that I-70 or I-75? Anyway, you cross over into Cincinnati. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. That's it. You're pretty good, Boat Bum. It's Florence, y'all. Well, I like that name, Melanie Ann. I can stand and ski and do things like that. It's the kneeling on hard surfaces. The pain is just incredible. But I can stand. I have knees that work. I-75. Yeah. You know, I used to go from Lexington, Kentucky to Cincinnati in about an hour. And I don't know how I never got a ticket. I would never do that anymore. All right, so running out of questions. I don't know how to finish this up without maybe some, I don't know why everything is spinning out of control. In the world, where the world's quietly spinning, and out of control. Well, I don't know what else to go over with you. I might, it's only 12:49, but I might just end it here. Not maybe I'll go till 1:00, but the spinning has just begun. Yeah, I don't know. I think I wouldn't get away with it now, but I used to go into Lexington, Kentucky quite a bit, and Cincinnati and Covington and Louisville. I highly recommend. I highly recommend that whole part of the world. If you were to invest, Billy Ray, looking good, Billy Ray. If you were to invest, which one should you be in? HNRC. I don't. Let me look what HNRA is doing. I didn't know it's trading. Wow. Let me see the high low. I don't. You know what, Billy Ray? I don't know. HNRA might be an interesting trade. It would be similar, I think, to what happened to CAUD, where the criminals just destroyed it. But where can I go? Maybe I wrote it down. I gotta find my data. And I may not have written it down, darn it. But to my memory, oh, here it is. The HNRA D-SPAC later this year. So this might, let me look at the news. Billy Ray, I would have to study whether it's worth buying HNRA, but the one I would buy is HNRC. 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 HNRC could give as much as 15 cents a share as a cash dividend, and HNRC is going to distribute its ownership of HNRA to you, me. So the HNRA DSPAC will be completed later this year. So I think it's already happened. That's the $86 million Pogo Resources acquisition. So you may be onto something. There may be value in HNRA. Let me look it up on. But of course, the criminals just destroy the SPACs as soon as they de-SPAC. Let's see how many shares are outstanding. Oh man, it's only 15 million market cap. There's 7.5 million shares outstanding, and ostensibly Pogo Resources is worth 86 million out of the gate. Actually, my notes, that might be 86 million was the value of the SPAC. What I remember in my head is Pogo Producing was worth, it had cash flow and earnings, and it was worth over 60 million. Let's just use 60 million and divide that by 7.5 million shares. That's $8 a share. Billy Ray, looking good. HNRA might be a buy. I'll look into that for an update. You've got a good idea, Billy, but Billy Ray. But right now, I think the one to buy is HNRC. I think, look, based on what I just looked at, I think HNRA is worth the buy as well. I think it has book value of around $8 a share, and it's obviously been criminalized. And of course, people will make fun of me on space calls for misusing the word criminalized, making up a word, but whatever. Let's see what this is. CB, what I'm hearing, and I emphasize to you that it's a rumor, but I think they're going to take care of the number of shareholders pretty soon. So, wow. Yeah, exactly. ASPA went up, but what they did, the criminals, somebody, either the principals at Aubrey SPAC, the principals at Brownstone, the principals at Chandron Financial, the principals at Polar and the other hedge fund, and or the attorneys, they engineered what you're just describing, and somebody called into NASDAQ and said, hey, they don't have enough shares. You got to delist. You got to stop trading. Well, that's what one clerk at NASDAQ answering the phone. The other clerk, under the auspices of leadership from Adriana Friedman, who collects 28 million and does FFAL to protect CEOs and shareholders from the schemes of the schemers like the Lynn Partners and their syndicated clients. Oh, the speed limit is 70. All right. Yeah. I used to book. Um, I think you mean, hang on, relax, everybody. I like Billy Ray. I like that idea. That's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. The capital is Frankfurt. The city where the horses run is Louisville. No, sorry, it's Georgetown. No, it's Frankfurt. Frankfurt. But Georgetown might be the capital of Kentucky. Let me look it up. Capital of Kentucky, I think might be Georgetown. No, it's Frankfurt. It's Frankfurt, but then there's some sort of courthouse and some sort of stuff that goes on in Georgetown as well. And then there's London, Kentucky. When I would visit, they'd say, where are you from? I say, I live in London. They said, Kentucky? I said, no, UK. I'm glad you were sleeping. All right, so one more minute. I'm going to sign off. The computer is hot. My brain doesn't. I think Billy Ray Valentine had the best idea today. HNRA looks like a buy as well. That HNRA is Pogo Resources. I'll try to get for you what the cash flows, the earnings, and the assets are there. There's upside in HNRA. And that's a small float. Maybe you get a squeeze going on. But HNRC is the one, if they don't have a toxic dilutive financing like a CEO would get at the Lynn Partners, New York City, there's huge upside in HNRC. Huge. So I'll give you, it's 1 o'clock, but I'll give you prices one more time and then I'm going to sign off. HNRA is up 5 cents to 206. That was as high as almost $14 in October. Very interesting call, Billy Ray. Feeling good, Lewis. Looking good, Billy Ray. 0.0361 on HNRC. I think as soon as he announces a dividend, and particularly if it's cash, Logic, 0.0744 up. It's on the green today. I would look for news over the next couple of weeks on that. Maybe. Not a guarantee. Finger is 385. Based on what Ham said, it might be interesting to either buy the stock or buy, close to the money calls, not too much. GDC, 280, up 2 cents. Wolf, I don't know if Wolf has options. Let me look. Yeah, they have options. Wolf might be worth a punt. And then GTII, 37 cents. And CAUD, 144.96. And just out of curiosity, I want to look up Go Logic. 44 cents, zero volume. And I don't think it's worth, I won't even quote that one. I don't think it's worth doing anything with it. All right, let's see. Yeah, I do think there's a large short position in HNRC. But the record keeping at FINRA, let me see if I can find it here. The record keeping at FINRA is it's changed somehow. So, and you can only get the last 30 days anyway, which I didn't, like an idiot, I didn't think to just collect. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, here. Let me show you. Let me show you. I think there is a large short position in HNRC. And if he does a reverse split, which remember, that's the game of the criminals. Start destroying the company, drive it down, and then the CEO says, well, I know what I'll do. I'll just do a reverse split. I don't have my whiteboard anymore. I left it out in the rain, and it took so long to make it. I don't think I can take it. Something again. Oh no. Oh no. But if the criminals short $10 million into their prime brokerage account, and it's at an average price of $1 a share, they've sold stock that doesn't exist for 10 million shares. If they can then drive it down 2 pennies, and the CEO says, and so maybe they're at 10 million shares just to be simplistic, and the CEO says, you know what, I've got to reverse split it. I'll do a 10 for 1. Well, all of a sudden, the criminals only need to backstop 1 million shares short, not 10 million. 90% of their ill-gotten gains they can take out of the market, and then they can do it again. And CEOs don't think about that. They don't think about that. No, I was trying to sing, maybe she sang it. He died. He was the duck of death in Unforgiven. God, my memory is so bad. But I was trying to sing, MacArthur's Park is melting in the rain. I don't think that I could take it. That's a good trade. Let me see if I can find what I was going to show you for your question. It might not be there. Hang on a second. Everything's slow with this computer. And I don't think that I can take it, and I'll never have those memories again. Oh no. So slow. Oh no. Richard Harris is who I was trying to remember his name. Richard Harris. All right, just give this. My computer is really slow. This is a goal of mine. This is a goal of mine. Just give me a second. I'll try to answer your question. At least partly. MacArthur's Park is melting in the rain. I don't think that I can take it. It took so long to, all right, so HNRC is 0.0355. My opinion, this news today is pretty good. The one risk is if he did toxic financing for that 10 million. And that's why that HNRA might be an interesting, you know, what do you call it? Diversification. Okay, let me see if I can find what I want to show you. It takes a while. I'm going to fix this so you never have to wait again, and I never have to wait again. It's not coming. It ain't. So let me just answer your question. It didn't come up. I'll just answer your question. Yes, I think there's a big short position. I think there's a big short position. I didn't hit that. I don't know why that went up. Sorry. I think there's a big short position. I can't prove it to you because the computer's slow. So there is a potential of short covering, but the downward pressure in the stock over the last many months, it kind of looks like they did a toxic financing. So that's, you know, that's your risk. That's your risk in the stock. However, he has 15 cents a share to distribute. He has the HNRA, which I think the interest that we own is worth 30 cents. And the book value's there. And I think he's a really sharp financial guy. So I think the criminals have picked on the wrong man. That's my guess. There's no volume. There's no float in the stock. And as far as I know, they haven't done any toxic financing. So also a huge amount of the shares that are outstanding in GoLogic are restricted. I own some from the distribution from Logic 2 years ago. So I think it's a good thing, CB. And I think if you'd ever got any buying or covering, that thing could shoot like a rocket. Now, I'm not calling for the big numbers. I'm just saying to get back to $5, $8, $10 a share, it's a nice trade. Well, Southeastern pressure, I don't know exactly what you expect. When you say hard to have any faith based on history, I don't know what that means. I'll try to do a video on NextBridge. I really think I just think you don't understand your investment. If you're in NextBridge, you're lucky, number one. Number two, it's a private company. And when you bought MMTLP, that's what the system owed you. And I personally think you're lucky it's not trading, because it would be at a penny. And then they couldn't raise money at a fair valuation. All of the well data, all of the improved reserves would be translated down to ever increasing denominator. So it would be huge on paper, but it would be destroyed on a per share basis. So I just think you misunderstand your investment. If you're in I don't know how long you could be for a long time. By definition, you couldn't be in NextBridge for much more than a year. I think it was December 9th was the was the trading halt, and it was that next Wednesday or the following Wednesday when you were meant to get your shares of NextBridge. I don't think they were delivered then. I think it took months. So it's impossible for you to be in NextBridge for a long time. Now it's possible you're in Torchlight, MMAT, MMTLP for a long time. That's possible. If you're in MMTLP, if it goes the legal route, you got 7-8 more years. If it goes the Wall Street system settling, I think you could get a settlement this year. If you're in NextBridge, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think, what I think. They are developing the Ora Grande. And, you know, the midpoint on the estimated reserves are 5.7 billion barrels of oil. If you treat the 5.7 billion barrels, I don't know why I always have to go through this. It must bore most people. Let me see. 5700. That's a million. That's a billion. 5.7 billion barrels of oil. If you treat it as P3 or P4, if you just give 10% odds of that being successful, that's 570 million barrels of oil recoverable. Now, because I think I went really low, I'm going to use Exxon's purchase price of Pioneer for shares, $30 a barrel. That's $17 billion southeastern pressure. Now, I'll divide it by the entire outstanding shares. No, that's not what I'm dividing it by. I'm going to divide it by the authorized shares, not outstanding, authorized, 500 million shares. I'm trying to build in all sorts. That's $35 a share. What did you pay Southeastern Pressure? Holding on to NextBridge for a long time. Sometimes I feel this will be over soon, and sometimes I feel like it will never be resolved by any legal matter. Hard to have faith based on history. What history? What history? We're in totally new realm. Now, you say resolved in any legal matter. Why do you want a legal resolution if you're in NextBridge? I don't know. I'm being ordinary, but I don't think you understand your investment. You've got at the lowest of low estimations, you've got $35 a share in the private company. But I did that based off of 10%. What if they start proving up their reserves, which they are doing? And what if the reserves are 10 million, 15 million barrels? What if the 5 million barrels comes in as proven, which is what they're working on? Man, I don't know what you're complaining about. And why you would want legal. Legal lawyers will take a third to half of it. It's going to take forever. And you may not be alive. You want NextBridge to move forward. You want NextBridge to determine how many shares are extant, unless that's using the definition of is twice. It depends on your definition of is. I don't know. I think you need an attitudinal adjustment. If you're in NextBridge, I think those shares are worth $1,000 for the criminals to stay out of jail or more. they're certainly worth hundreds of dollars a share. And McCabe put on Twitter, if the settlement doesn't come with a 600 starting point per share, it's going to not only be hell no, it's going to be hell no in a lawsuit. So I don't know, Southeastern Pressure. I think you got to check your rational part with your fear part, leave the fear at the door, sit down with a pad of paper and figure out what you got. If you use 3.2 million barrels, which is the low end of the range, and you multiply it by, instead of $30, multiply it by, let's say, $10 a barrel. You divide that by what is actually extant right now, 250 million shares approximately. So it's $128 a share. Holding on for Nextbridge for a long time. Sometimes I feel this will be over soon, and sometimes I feel it will never be resolved by any legal manner. Hard to have any faith based on history. It's a private company. That means you have to sit down with a pad of paper and a pencil, and you have to calculate what the value is per share. It doesn't remove risk. It can bust at any time. But they're developing one of the largest potential new field discoveries in North America. They increased their ownership to 100%. They're starting to produce shallow zones. They discovered 2 more shelves or zones when they drilled deeper. Oil's tripled since Nextbridge became an option. And it's headed higher. We're going to war. Everyone here, you're listening, you're an apologist for Hamas, you listen to the propaganda, whatever you want to think. But if you're still listening to the crap that comes across CNN, then you believe we've won in Ukraine and Israel's in charge of the Middle East. Nothing could be further from the truth. War is coming, it looks like, and it's a tragedy that breaks my heart. Iran, I think, is what Victoria Nuland wants to finish with her right-wing idiot of a husband, Robert Kagan. I read one of his books. I wanted to vomit as I'm reading it. These are the hardliners that are going to put the rest of the world at risk for your children and grandchildren. But what happens in war? Oil prices go up, up, up. Holding Nextbridge for a long time. Sometimes I feel this will be over soon. And sometimes I feel it will never be resolved by any legal matter. Hard to have any faith based on history. I'll do my best to do a video, but you shouldn't invest in the stock market. And you certainly should not invest in private companies. That is one thing for sure. Just get out of the market. You don't understand the market. You don't understand it. At a minimum, you've got $125 worth of value in Nextbridge. And that's before they tack on for the lawyers and the pain and suffering. I've done many videos on valuation that I think it should be over $1,000 a share now to you. I'll try to do another video. But I think you're really not, it's not fair to yourself. You shouldn't punish yourself with that point of view. What happened to GTII? They're more sellers than buyers. For reverse splits have their place. If Logic gets purchased all at once by a company and they do a reverse split, that'll work like a charm. But if Logic, for example, continues to exist and does a reverse split, or if HNRC does one, I just went through the numbers. You're just allowing the criminals to walk away with 95, 99% of their money without paying taxes. Peter O'Toole. Tell Celeste that if I were her uncle, I'd give her a big hug and a kiss on the top of her head. I'd ask her mama and her papa for permission first, but she's a good kid, and I hope she had a good Christmas. I don't know what you're talking about, Southeastern. I really don't. If you bought MMTLP for a short squeeze, that's never coming back. And let me be clear, if you're waiting for 2 days of trading, you're asking to be slaughtered. 2 days of trading is just what the hedge funds want. And I bet they're paying people a bounty to get that result. MMTLP is nothing. But if you own MMTLP, then that's completely different. Your statement said you own Nextbridge. And I think you're lucky as hell to be in a private placement when a typical oil and gas private placement might cost you $500,000 to get into. But if you're in MMTLP, there will be no legal resolution soon. Period. Could the system settle soon? Could Wall Street settle soon? Absolutely. But I don't know, Southeastern. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. There's 650 million shares of MMTLP counterfeit, fraud, sold which don't exist. Professor Angel, Jim Cramer, people on the space calls, congressmen, the media, whoever did that article for Forbes, they all want to convince you and the SROs that didn't occur. But the fact is, from offshore, in your prime brokers, in your brokerage accounts, sit 650 million shares of non-existent MMTLP. They don't want that to come out. They're going to fight it legally as long as they can. If you're waiting for legal settlement, it's going to go longer than cigarettes, longer than asbestos. It's going to go longer than the acid in the soil in New Hampshire for leather. It's going to go longer than Aaron Brockovich. Lawyers will stretch out the legal settlement in MMTLP longer, in my guess, 8 to 12 years. So you don't want a legal settlement. You don't want a legal settlement. But luckily, Southeastern pressure, you've got 4 or 5 guys, they're all men, who were original investors in Torchlight, which went to MMAT, which distributed a stub which was fraudulently listed by the criminals. Gary Gensler didn't give one care. Robert Cook couldn't care less. Adriana Friedman couldn't care less. They all collect more money than God, but they don't care about shareholders or companies. But luckily, you've got 5 or 6 big whales in there that kept working. And MMTLP has gone from 70% ownership of the Oro Grande to 100%. The range of potential oil reserves, to my memory, was 3.2 to 6.7 billion barrels, something like that. And they've increased ownership to 100% because they like what they saw. They have the engineering, they have the seismic, they've been drilling. And it's taken more than a year. It's taken more than a year. It's taken more than a year to drill this up. You don't belong in the stock market. But if you have moved your shares to AST as NextBridge, if there is a Wall Street settlement, a financial settlement, why would they do that instead of going the legal route? Because your prime brokers, your broker dealers, your regulators, the market makers, and all of the criminals don't want to go to prison. But you don't want to see, you don't want to believe instant results. There's no question that we stepped in it when we bought MMTLP. There's no question that if FINRA had allowed it to trade for those 2 days, we might have made a lot of money. And there's no question that FINRA is corrupt, SEC is corrupt, NASDAQ is corrupt, OTC markets are corrupt. No question. You're caught, but the shorts are caught. And thank God NextBridge isn't trading in the public market. The criminals would be shorting hundreds of millions, if not billions of shares to destroy your value in the open market. Instead, you've got McCabe and the rest drilling, proving up the reserves. But I've had to wait a year. I can't wait. Well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're lucky you haven't been able to sell. You're ripe for stripping. You're ripe for the shearing. But anyway, southeastern pressure. I haven't eaten. I can't. It frustrates me so much. I'm obviously not getting my message across. But you are lucky to be in NextBridge. Lucky to be in NextBridge. If you're in MMTLP, I think you should move to NextBridge. But if you're in the MMTLP, I think there will be a Wall Street settlement. I think it should be over $1,000 a share. It should have a cash distribution as a component, and the lawyers are going to get bloody rich. It could happen before the end of this year. If Wall Street thinks they're going to be exposed. And they're fighting every bit of the way. Southeastern pressure. We're talking about trillions with a T. Texas T. Trillions of dollars being siphoned out of the U.S. market by your funds, by the big shots on Wall Street, and by the criminals offshore, and by the fronts like Jeff Easton. Trillions. And they pay no taxes. And we all sit here and we go, we're not getting our money back soon enough. And it's Ham's fault. No. Well, until we grow a pair and recognize what MMTLP is, we have them by their pairs of puny male extensions after they take all their drugs and their steroids and their drinking. We have them by the short hairs. But anyway, I'm going to leave you to your concerns. I don't know about RCRT. Let me look into RCRT. CB, I'm afraid they did a reverse split already. And I think the criminals have control of that stock. But let me look into it. I want to do something on GoLogic. Let's look at the price. Yeah. CB, it's trading near its lows for the year, so it may be worth a trade. I certainly think what the assets going into our CRT are going to be great. The only question I have is their financing. So let me look at that. My Cutter guy, I really recommend to everybody to move to AST, move to AST, move to the physical shares of NextBridge. But you know, others say stay in MMTLP. So you've got to. You're really, that's awesome. I bought Torchlight. I believe I paid $12, but I bought it at 10 and 9 and 7 and 8. And I sold Torchlight for a loss. I didn't wait for MMTLP. I did it for tax loss reasons. And I regret that now. But anyway. Grump, it's going to take 55 years. All right, I'll try to check with him. Now I know you didn't mean to frustrate you. I get frustrated because I don't think people understand, and then I'm hungry, and then well, you're helping a lot, Grump 55, lift people's spirits. 222. Look, Grump, I'm not here to cheerlead. I'm here to try to look at the facts on the ground. Wall Street is fraud. They're stacked against you. And if CEOs continue to make stupid decisions, you're not going to make any money. That's not much cheerleading, is it? And Grump, I'm not going to lead people like COSM or other stocks so you can pour your money in so the criminals can drive the stock price down. I'm not going to do that. On the other hand, if there's an option, if there's a trade that makes sense, risk reward, I'll give you my assessment of it. Yeah, Robin, I think you're right. But McCabe's not going to do a shitty deal, and he's not going to do a deal that hurts you. That's my opinion. So we just have to wait. We can get a souffle, or we can get a flat piece of chocolate, burned chocolate. We just have to wait. Well, Pete, I think, I mean, I'm making a speculation here. There's 500 million shares issued and authorized for NextBridge. I think the last time I looked or heard, the outstanding shares are like 260 million. That gives some leeway for NextBridge to issue shares to help out the criminals without expanding their authorized shares. So there'll be movement. My point is, I don't think NextBridge is going to want to issue 500 or 600 million shares. I think they're going to want to stay in that range. But they can always do it. I think most of you watching this would just take the money and run. And I think the criminals and Wall Street, market makers, prime brokers, hedge funds, broker dealers are counting on that. If someone offered $10 a share, most of you would take it and run. So that's one side of the tension. The other side of the tension is big whales know what Oro Grande could be worth. Look, I could be wrong. I've never seen an engineering report. I recall the presentations I saw when it was Torchlight, but I've never seen an engineering report. And the problem with oil and gas is you can go from having the most exciting field in the world, and all of a sudden, the economics don't work. There's too much water you have to process. The oil's not the right gravity. The reservoirs fault out. What you thought by seismic and drilling was going to be truly a great reservoir turns out not to have energy, or it turns out it is water, or it doesn't. I'm not a geologist, but it doesn't have fluorescence. You go down there and you were fooled. So there are risks. But they've been playing around in this sandbox for a while. And what I think is going to happen is, if there's a settlement, anybody at AST, at NextBridge, I think you're going to be given an opportunity to sell your shares into that settlement, because NextBridge is going to need more shares to settle up with the criminals. So I think they'll be back and forth. Speculation on my part. I also think that there will be a cash distribution, a dividend organized. So even if you're at AST in NextBridge, I think you're going to have a liquidity event more than what you paid for stock. And I think that'll be given to everybody. Lawyers are going to get bloody, filthy rich. But hey, that's our legal system. Criminals will stay above ground. They'll stay out of jail. They're going to lose any asset they haven't given to their wives or hidden offshore. There'll be one or two broker dealers who collapse. And there might be a prime broker or three that go down as well, either with or separately. I think market makers will go out of business, but they'll just set up shop elsewhere. And I think maybe Congress will finally see that the system is all fraud, but maybe not. Remember, the media is controlled by Larry Fink, and the other guy is controlled by BlackRock and the other two or three big pools of money. So I think but Pete, if that's your question, how will you get that money? You shouldn't be in NextBridge. The reason to be in NextBridge is you really own something. If you're in MMTLP, as slim a chance as we think, the lawyers might win. And a court could rule against us. And the markets could collapse, and brokers' firms could collapse. And they just settled for $5, $1 a share. When you own the shares of NextBridge, you own a piece of the rock. And that's what I recommend. But I think a settlement will give you optionality, Pete. And I think the safest way to get that optionality is own NextBridge shares. CAUD at $1.45, there's 400,000 shares in the float. 400,000. But the CEO printed a trade. He did it. I don't know why, but he printed a trade that agrees with this valuation. He destroyed in one stroke of the pen all of the work that the third party did and the work that Brent did over a year, everybody did, to show that DataLogic was worth over $100 million. In one deal, he printed the trade to show it was worth 18 million. Well, that's his decision. I think that DataLogic and the other companies are worth much more than 100 million. It's going to be his heavy lift now to convince the 3 or 4 companies to come in a merger situation and not use 18 million, which he agreed with. He said, hey, I agree with you, criminals. My company's only worth 18 million. And he raised $600,000. But there's only 400,000, 600,000 shares. I believe the short position in CAUD is over 20 million shares. But if you talk to a retired guy from the American Stock Exchange, he's going to tell you it might be 3 million shares. Either way, it's a big, big number. And so I think there's going to be news on CAUD. I'm really impressed with Peter Boards. I'm really impressed with their board. I really think that they have a business plan and a way to grow revenues and cash flows that is enormous. But if they do more deals at 18 million corporate valuation, as good as the deals are, we're not going any higher than 18 million. I don't think they have that as a plan. I think their plan is to raise enough money to get to the point where they can tell the criminals, screw you. The criminals, in my judgment, are Brownstone, Aubrey SPAC principals, the 2 hedge funds that are led by Polar, the lawyers that represent them, and Chandron Financial, or somewhere in there, or all of them, set up the sting operation. And if Peter Boards is listening to those people, rather than to Brent, rather than to a schmuck like me, we're in for a long fight. But my answer is, I think CAUD, their goal is to make it a multi-billion-dollar company within 2 or 3 years and to get the stock to $50. I also think it has a chance for a massive short squeeze. By massive, I mean 30, 40, 50, $70. If they can light the fire. But if they're still listening to the lying criminals, it'll be harder. Well, apparently you can move them. I have shares in my IRA too, and I keep going back and forth. Apparently you can distribute them to yourself as a taxable event. They're worth 0 right now. and then you pay taxes on the gains, the settlement. Now, that's if you sell. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but if you move the shares to AST and the shares go from $8 to $800, as an expert, you don't pay any taxes on that gain until you sell. But what happens if you have MMTLP and there's a settlement? Do you have to pay taxes on that? I see. That's where I don't know. I think you do. That's my guess. So there's some value to stay in the IRA. I'm leaning towards leaving my shares in the IRA, but I go back and I vacillate. But for all of my negativity on time, this can change in a minute as soon as one of the brokerage firms or the self-regulatory bodies or a prime broker realizes they're about to lose $100 billion and they're going to be exposed and they're going to go to prison. This could change on a dime. So, yeah, I think we're trying to declare war on Iran, unfortunately. You can look it up, but Wesley Clark went to the Pentagon, visited a friend of his that he used to work with, and that friend said, "General, you haven't heard?" And Wesley Clark was so rattled. The agenda of the new American century, Donald Rumsfeld, George W., Dick Cheney, Victoria Nuland, Robert Kagan, some others. Their goal was not to cooperate with Russia, not to cooperate with any country. It was to imprint American supremacy, American excellence on 7 countries. To my memory, those countries were Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, now my memory's failing. It might have been Yemen, Lebanon, maybe. I can't remember the 6th, but the 7th? The 7th was Iran, and we haven't attacked Iran yet. I believe hidden in that agenda was to destroy Russia as well. One presidential candidate lost her campaign to be president and went on a rampage against white supremacists, basically white straight men of a certain age, and went on a campaign against Russia. Well, we're living with those consequences, and I'm not sure she's going to be happy until she destroys parts of the world. I think also in those 7 countries, you could add in Russia. So anyway, I'm nervous about this agenda. I'm nervous about the hubris, blindness, and the idiocy of having a woman who will never serve 2 women. We had a woman direct us into Libya. We came, we saw, he died. Her daughter never served. Never served. And now we have a woman running policy out of the State Department, along with a man who might as well be a woman leading the State Department and out of defense. But our politicians' children are not going to serve. We're going to rain living hell on people with brown skin, except in the Ukraine. And we expect our financial system to survive that? I don't know. I hope we do. I think McCabe is our winning ticket. He's the ace in the hole. Ace in the hole. What's going on with GTII? There's more selling than buyers. Everyone here has bought all the shares they can of GTII. Alpine was called out by the NSCC and FINRA for having a substantial, and I think they took over the short position. Here, Philip, if you really want to know what happened. 3 years ago or so, David Reichman took financing from a couple of scumbags called Kurt Kramer and Seth Kramer with their boiler room operative, who they'll sell down the road as soon as possible, Charlie Mayo. It was for approximately $63,000 or $79,000. There's so many of these. And the Kramer, let's say it was 63. The Kramers charged 3% up front for fees, and they sold it at a discount. They started selling the stock before the money was given, and they did it in tranches with a toxic convertible formula, which allows their clients to sell endless amount of shares which do not exist. That's been what's going on with GTII for 3 years. When I was told about the stock, there were 50 million shares counterfeit. And David Reichman had bought back the Kramer's note, paid the penalties, paid the fees. And Charlie Mayo called in to Reichman. Hey, Reiki, I've had a talk with the boys. We'll give you money if you issue us shares. Reichman said no. And that's been continuing. Now, what happened, Philip, just to focus on one, a little over a year ago, a special dividend as a warrant was catching hold, Philip. And it was causing Fidelity to borrow shares at 1,000%. It caused Wells Fargo to stop accepting buy orders. And Lou Bravo, Frank Benedetto, and the chairman of COSM came into this audience and said, hey, you better buy COSM. GTII is not returning Lou Bravo's phone calls. There's got to be something wrong. Well, in fact, in fairness, GTII went to $9. And by the time they did this, it was selling around $4 to $5 to $6. But he said, come buy COSM at 18 cents, 22 cents. By the time Lou came on, it was 22 cents. We're changing the name. We're changing the QSIP number, says Frank Benedetto, as if that matters. And we're going on upstream, and we're not going to do a reverse split, and we're not going to do a deal with the criminals. We're fighting the fight. Well, either Frank Benedetto didn't know what he was talking about, which I think is plausible, or he was part of the gag. Either the CEO of COSM was taking advantage of Frank Benedetto, which is possible, and or it was a nod and a wink. I believe the CEO of COSM knew exactly what he was doing. But possibly the CEO of COSM was paid for by someone at Alpine or the Kramer's network. Why? Because Kurt Kramer and his clients were down $1 billion. They were down $1 billion. And if you don't think money changed hands, and then Lou Bravo, he either just didn't know what was going on. He might have gotten some bakshish, or he really believed. And I do think Lou has the ability to look forward, get out at 4, at 3, at 2. As soon as he put that out, the stock plummeted. I don't believe it stayed above 2 very long. It might have. But I think it got down into the $1.50, $1.80 range. I'd have to go look it up. I don't feel like doing that homework right now. Money flooded into COSM. It ran like a mofo up to 80 and 88 cents per share. It never went on upstream. It did a reverse split. It did do a deal with the criminals. And the QSIP and the name change didn't do anything to cause a squeeze. And the promised 2,000% squeeze, oh, that was just an arithmetic error. The 2,000% short position, that's just an arithmetic error. And then George, whatever, Fliakis or whatever his name is, did a deal with the criminals at 33 cents a share. Most people didn't make money on COSM, and it dropped like a bullet. Now, I don't know if any of those 3 guys knew what they're doing. It's possible they didn't. It's possible only the international CEO knew what he was doing. But I tell you what, he took 35 million out of the market. And the other 2 men, the other 2 gentlemen, they destroyed the momentum of the squeeze, in my judgment. And now we are here a year later. No one's mad at them. No one is mad at them. But we're here later. What's going on with GTII? What's going on? Why isn't it squeezing? Why isn't it squeezing? They were down $1 billion. As soon as the bubble popped, the selling began, and Alpine sold, and the criminals sold, and it's been a fight ever since. So here we are, a little bit over a year later. The law firm deal didn't work. The Beyond Bitcoin didn't work. The buying Shibu Inu didn't work, wasn't approved. The upstream was not allowed. The short squeeze had been killed. Then Trento Mining, we had the bond crisis of a little bit over a year ago. Then we had SVB, whatever that bank is, Silicon Valley Bank, layered with Democratic donors, and not a single banker running that company. That goes bust, and Janet Yellen, paid for by Goldman Sachs, bails it out so Sharon Stone can get her money out. But apparently that interrupted the financing for mine. Who knows? So a year later, GTII still tried to do a special dividend of a 10%, 1 for 10 stock dividend. Is it screwing up the market? Maybe it is. Is it catching out the shorts? Maybe it is. Most people don't understand it. but the selling continues. It's 38 cents to 39 cents. Now, Philip, in that environment, there are some people that used to work at the American Stock Exchange and others saying there's no way in hell there's any short position in GTII. So that's the credulous. That's the apologist. There's Ham on the other side saying there's 450 million shares counterfeited in GTII. You got to pick which one you believe, or in between. But realistically, Philip, more time goes by, more FUD, more doubt. Alpine, John Hurry, instead of being kicked out of FINRA, filed nuisance lawsuits because they have your money, and those go on. They continue, and they continue, and they continue, and they continue. Will it come to an end? Maybe. Certainly will someday. But for now, Alpine is protected with a major short position. Why? What's going on with GTII? Well, Philip, what would you do if you had sold 400 million shares or 40 million shares or 4 million shares that didn't exist? I guess you'd keep selling if you didn't want to cover it. You'd be moving your assets as quickly as you can, and you keep selling. FBI is investigating somebody they think might even be Kurt Kramer, but they don't know, who was selling stock to West Park Securities months ago and costing that brokerage firm $4 million in losses. What's happening with that? I don't know. I'll call the FBI. I'm sure they'll tell me. So then the insiders of GTII issued to themselves a lot of stock. And they are allowed to exert options, employee options. They're allowed to exercise 1% a month. That's there. They gave 19 million shares or something like that to a charity. I don't know how that's handled. There's lawsuits going on. There's awareness going on. And you've got whales, Philip, in GTII. But those whales are primarily distracted by and in finger motion. Finger motion made an announcement less than 90 days ago, or a filing of a shelf registration. Finger motion, as Ham just said, might be doing a special dividend. Finger motion has earnings coming out. Finger motion may acquire somebody with the help of Univest. My contention is those whales are focused on finger motion, not on GTII. But as soon as that liquidity comes, where do they go? Now, you have to admit, Philip, that the balance of shares versus short has shifted. There's 360 million shares outstanding. The short's over 400 million if you believe Ham. If you believe a retired executive at the American Stock Exchange, it's probably not even a million shares. Well, that's a whole different scenario now than it was when I first got involved. There were something like, to my memory, 50 or 60 million shares outstanding and a short of 10 to 20 million. a float of 10 to 20 million and a short of 50 to 60 million, but a float of 10 to 20 million. Well, now the float is 99 million. Well, at DTC, 99 million. So it's a different ratio, but it still is a setup for a massive squeeze if there is ever a buy-in caused at Alpine. But I don't know, Philip. None of this story has changed. None of it. So what's going on? They're still selling stock that doesn't exist. They do it every day. Every single effing day. They sell stock that doesn't exist. It never stops. It's what they do. That's what's going on. A shitload of selling. Now, is GTII worth where it's trading? I would argue that you have a friendly CEO that's not going to do a COSM deal. You've got the legal and the FBI issues going on that are a threat to the shorts. And you've got Trento Mines. And you've got the whales. What's the risk? The risk is simply greed on the part of the two employees. They hired a new advisor who reached out to Ace, didn't reach out to me, reached out through somebody else to Ham. So why'd you hire the advisor if they need Ham? I don't know. But that advisor is into derivatives and institutional trading. Is he there because he likes this opportunity and he likes Reichman, or is he there to represent the criminals? I don't know. You got to make that decision. My alarm bells are up, but I'd love to talk to him and be satisfied that I don't have to be worried. There's a gentleman who interacts with GTII on behalf of Trento Mines. As far as I know, that deal's still alive. 40% of 30 billion, it's 12 billion, divided by, call it 1 billion shares outstanding. That's not, I'm maximizing it. That's $12 a share. If that deal gets done, 40% of 30 billion is 12 billion. Divided by 1 billion shares, $12 a share. Do you think that would shiver me timbers on the shorts? Philip, it's the same bloody question. It's the same song. The criminals are selling shares which do not exist. Or if you believe people that used to work at the American Stock Exchange, it's all a matter of algorithms where good clientele to Wall Street sell shares which don't exist during the day and then buy them all back at the same time. I don't see any evidence of that, but those are the only two explanations that are out there. But if you look at GTII on its own, without the major confirmed short position, without some sort of acquisition, it's not worth very much per share. But on the other hand, they don't have a big burn rate. They aren't doing deals with the criminals like COSM did. They're not reverse splitting. And the argument is you have a chance at a short squeeze. That's what's going on with GTII. Right now, the stock is 38.5 by 39.5, 63,575 shares on the bid, 3,956 on the ask. So to me, Philip, there's three catalysts. Finger goes. money's coming back to GTII. The legal / FBI happens and a buy-in happens. Money's coming back to money by definition is created in a major buy-in by Alpine and the rest. Trento Mines comes in out of the blue. I don't know why they had to hire this guy. My guess is there's some sort of control going on between Reichman and the whales. I don't think this new guy adds anything. But on the other hand, maybe he's here because he's a deal guy and he can close the Trento mining deal, which I understand is still live and was closed several months ago, was closed a month ago. I don't know what else the hell to tell you, Philip. 39 cents on the bid now. We just got through tax loss season. There's 57,077 shares to buy. That's some sort of code, the 77,000 shares, 77 shares. It looks like GTI is starting to go up. And the thing that solves low prices is low prices. Twice actually 3 times, Finger has moved from these prices to far higher stock prices. So I've answered it at length. I'll try to do better with a video. It's a speculative trade. But your risk now is 40 cents in return for $4, $40, $400 or more in a squeeze. Will the squeeze happen? I can't promise that. But the setup's there. I don't know what else to tell you, Philip. They're going to keep selling. They're going to keep selling stock until they're carried out on a stretcher. I think Berkshire Hathaway is great, but Berkshire Hathaway is a completely different ball game. They're heavily invested in their stocks. They're heavily invested at high PE ratios, and they have a time frame of 20 years. And anyway, yeah, I like that name, Lucky. I'm going to go to the very bottom. I think they're going to forward BBJ. I think they're going to forward split SJYL. That's what I heard. So let's say it's $189. If they did a 1 for 10, if they issued 10 shares for every one, it would be $18.90. That would solve 2 problems. That would get people buying. It would add more shareholders. And you could buy some more than $5. All right, there's always a risk of reverse splits, but it's like saying, hey, that's a white guy. That's one data point. All reverse splits are not bad, but most of the time, if they're tied to a bad mortgage, that's what financings are, they're bad. Well, that's true too. All right, I'm going to close out because my head is pounding and I haven't eaten. And I can't keep doing these lives. I get too upset. If you're in GTII, you're in it for a squeeze. Could it go lower? Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was first told about the stock, it was 10 cents. I paid much more than that. But could it go back there? Any stock can go down. Anything. But anyway, all right. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm just going to end it. My computer's heating up. It's not cooperating. I don't see. There you